Good evening, everyone. Thank you all so much for being here. We'll get started. Looks like we have a lot of people interested in what's happening this evening. We will start our meeting with our invocation led by Reverend Mary Holifield with West Covina Unified Methodist Church, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance by Councilmember Frederick Stykes. Please rise.
Let us pray. We have gathered here this evening intent on doing your good work, our gracious God. We thank you for this fine city, for the many ways in which you continually bless us. Help us to use our resources wisely, to represent all members of this community fairly, and to make decisions that promote the common good. We now ask that you bless our efforts, that you will give us wisdom as we seek to honor you in all that we say and do. Allow us to see the big picture in all things, to act in accordance with our best selves, to be open to the ideas of others, and to be respectful of one another's differences, so that we may please you as we strive to reach a common goal. In your most holy name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Please join me in the pledge to the flag of our nation. Ready, begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Madam City Clerk, roll call, please.
Mayor Sanderson.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Herford.
Here.
Councilmember McIntyre.
Here.
Councilmember Sotelo.
Here.
Councilmember Sykes.
Here.
Thank you so much. And we have nothing to report out of closed session, as we did not have a closed session this evening. And Mr. City Manager, are there any changes to the agenda?
Madam Mayor, there are no changes to the agenda, but if I may take a moment to introduce our new Finance Director, Nita McKay. She might be able to come down here real quick. This is our new Finance Director, Nita McKay, and I don't know if you'd like to introduce yourself and say a few words.
Thank you, Mr. City Manager. Madam Mayor and members of the City Council, it's a pleasure for me to be here this evening and to be appointed as your Finance Director and in charge of Finance and Human Resources. I look forward to meeting with each of you and working with each of you and helping to work with the community to maintain our financial stability and also to provide the great customer service that we already provide to the community. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, and welcome to West
Thank you.
Covina. We're happy to have you.
Thank you.
At this time is the favorite part of the meeting where we get to do some presentations, and it looks like everybody's here for some presentations, I hope. So I'll come forward and I'll call some names.
Madam Mayor, we need roll call first.
Oh, we did. My mistake. Thank you.
We did it.
And you're all here. And we're all here. Thank you, and welcome again, everybody. It's so great to see everybody out in the audience supporting the community. This is a great city, and I think that's why we're all here today. I'd like to start our first presentation that we have, which are certificates of recognition for California Distinguished Schools. Not only, of course, our great sports bring us to West Covina, but we have some fantastic schools. And I'd like to call forward Mr. Mark Treyervey, principal of Edgewood High School. Please come forward. And the residents would like to say thank you and congratulations on your distinguished school. And I would like to give you the microphone for a moment if you'd like to say a few words, and maybe if you have some introductions of some of your colleagues that are here today.
Thank you for that, City Council, Mayor, for this recognition. We're very pleased. Most of you have now heard that Edgewood High School is reopened. It's a high school now. This is our third year of operation. So it was with great excitement and pleasure that we were able to attain this Distinguished School Award. And I would like to recognize some folks that are here that were invaluable to this. Of course, our superintendent, Mrs. Debbie Kaplan. Give her a round of applause. And our parents are essentially the salt of the earth. So Mrs. Alejo, who's our PGSA president, she was able to come this evening. And of course, the teachers, you know, they're again worth their weight of gold. So we have our activities director, Mrs. Starzinski, our band IB teacher, Mrs. Bauer, EL coordinator, English teacher, Mr. Anderson, and of course, my right and my left hand, Mrs. Gonzalez, my assistant principal. Could we give them a round of applause as well? So you can all see that I'm shy and I don't really like to talk in front of people. So, but I'll conclude that it really does take a village to raise a child, and we thank you for the support of the city for this.
Absolutely. Congratulations again. Thank you so much. Congratulations. Thank you so much. Thank you for being here tonight. We also have, of course, another amazing school in our community, West Covina High School. You are Alex. Welcome, and thank you so much for being here. On behalf of the City Council and the citizens of West Covina, we wanted to congratulate you and your school on the fine achievements that you've accomplished, and would like to hand you the microphone as well, so you could say a few words, and maybe if you have some introductions of some key people here, and I know there's probably quite a few, but we only have a short period of time. So anyway.
Thank you. Thank you to council. Thank you, mayor. Thank you, everyone. We're very proud of this award. As a very large comprehensive high school, these do not come easy. It's a team effort. Many of you know 2,700 plus students, about 200 staff members. It's a huge institution. I like to think we're a little bit of a city on our own, me being the mayor. So I know exactly what it's like to try to, you know, make all those cogs turn, but we're really appreciative. I have a few staff members here. Thank you for being here. Thank you, parents, for your support. We couldn't do it without the amazing kids that we have in this community. So thank you very much, all of you parents who are sitting in the audience. We're very appreciative of it. Keep sending them to us. Thank you.
Looks like I see a lot of baseball and hockey and all kinds of exciting sports. So our next certificates, I'm going to call forward my lovely assistant, Mr. Brian Garland, and as he comes forward of the California Street Hockey Organization, I've known Brian and Gil, who have been so instrumental in bringing such an amazing facility. My son, who's now 21, played there as a 5-year-old. So this is a great facility, and it brings so much vitality to our community. And we are looking for Brian. Is he here somewhere in the audience? Oh, he's hiding down there. Come forward, Mr. Garland. A hug, because this is how much this man means to this community and what you do for our kids and adults too. I know quite a few adults play. My husband plays, acts like a kid, but it's wonderful. And I know there's some of you guys out there that do that, right? Am I right? Okay. So with that, I'd like you, if you wouldn't mind, help me and maybe talk a little bit about the program. And we have the certificate of recognitions for our dedication to our Young Stars hockey program. So with that, Mr. Brian Garland.
Thank you so much. Thank you guys very much. I'm Shelly, like I said, she's been so much part of this program. So many of the council have been so great about bringing this facility. And now it's really exciting because with our Young Stars program, we just have a ton of new kids playing. And we wanted to recognize our two coaches. I'd definitely like them to come up. Gary Heritage and Lorenzo Barrios. these guys, if anybody ever comes to the facility, we used to have about 10, maybe 15 kids doing what we call our Young Stars program. It's a learn to skate program. It's completely free, and we have all the gear. So we've got all these kids, all ages, 3-year-olds on up to 10, 11. And we started with like 15 kids. Gary started running the program. We now, last season, had over 80 kids try the program. And you can imagine, it was just madness. And these guys do just such a phenomenal job, both of them. Lorenzo's been doing it about a year. Like I said, Gary's been doing it over 2. So we just want to make that special presentation. And we actually have a special award. I'd like Brendan Sison. Where's Brendan? He's going to present them with something. So come on up, B. Brendan's been doing the program for 2 seasons here. Nice job, Brendan. Again, we'd just like to say thank you again to everybody on the council for supporting the program, and certainly everybody for coming out tonight. Like I said, these guys do a great job. Thank you so much, guys.
I would like to recognize Lorenzo Barrios and Gary Heritage for your service to not only to our community but to our children and how much it means. I still know the coaches that coached my son when he was 5, and he had a hairstyle just like yours. And it continued until he got into high school. I thought it would be a phase, but no, it kept going. I want to also just mention a few facts about California street hockey and what it does for the community. Opened in 1995, and I think my nephew started all the madness, and underwent retrofitting in 2003. And today, over 500 kids and 100 adults play at California street hockey.
Actually, that's 1,000 adults.
Well, I have a typo, 1,000, so I think the adults are having some fun here. That is amazing. Okay, you know, an amazing program. And we here at City Hall want to make sure we support that because it's such a wonderful private-public partnership that we have together. And I'm hoping my figures are correct on this one. Generated over $1 million in revenues for the city while providing a wonderful place for everybody to play. So isn't that fantastic? I want to thank you guys. And the staff and everyone would like to recognize you for your support because it does mean a lot, and these kids are going to just remember this experience forever. So thank you and without these coaches, we wouldn't have the wonderful facility that we have. So thank you to you. Thank you. And to you as well, Gary. Thank you. Thank you
so much. Brendan. Sure.
Come on, Brendan.
Right here, right here.
Just stand up, look at the camera and say, hockey! Thank you. I'm going to give my microphone back to you. Thank you very much. Now we will begin our meeting where we have our oral communications, where we have a 5-minute speaking limit. You fill out a yellow card if you'd like to talk to us. So with that, I'll call my first speaker, Mr. Philip Marino. Oh, and as he's coming forward, I just was tapped. I believe we have a dignitary in the audience, where school board member Jessica Shoemaker. I didn't see you sitting there. You're supposed to wave, stomp your hands with the City of West Covina School District. Sorry about that. Thank you. Good evening.
Madam Mayor, I had 2 yellow cards submitted. I understand that the item number 8 is not a public hearing, therefore I only get 5 minutes to speak on 2 matters. If it's appropriate, I have a prepared statement that I typed up yesterday, and I'd like to make that statement at the end of the business of the agenda of this calendar. Is that fine?
Yes, I have a separate agenda item 8, I believe.
Well, the non-agenda item...
This is the oral communications.
But I have a prepared statement for a separate subject. This one is going to be on agenda item number 8.
Okay.
Okay.
Mr. City Attorney, or how...
Yes, we're taking all comments that are not public hearings during this portion of the public comment.
Correct.
So both items would need to be discussed during this period.
Got it.
From what Ms. Rush told me, I get 5 minutes because it's not a public hearing on any of these matters. Is that correct?
What I understand is any oral communications, whether it's on the agenda and or on a non-agendized item, you have that 5 minutes. If we have a public hearing, then it would be a separate card and a separate time frame. Is that correct, Mrs. City Clerk? Yes.
The item number 8, which is an agendized item, and the prepared statement that I have with a handout.
Okay.
Can I approach that at the end of the regular calendar then, the agenda, the regular agenda?
Sir,
you have 5 minutes to speak on both items.
Okay.
Okay.
Mr. McIntyre, do you have any indirect financial interests in building homes?
No.
Or does your company do business with Lewis entities or other brokers that build homes? If so, you may want to ask County Council whether you have to recuse yourself on the moratorium, sir. Okay? I would like to approach the City Council on the statement when they run for office as to whether or not they represent the whole city. The moratorium that you want to apply, the standards that were written by Mr. Jeff Anderson, I would like to know what special interest asked him to write a moratorium. And the reason I mention it is I went over today to 1830 West Ken Oak Drive, and I spoke to Mr. Eric and Mrs. Rosalinda Rodriguez. Mr. Herford, my understanding when you run into them at Stater Brothers, you actually turn away because you're embarrassed by your relationship with them. He sued the city. So did she. Okay. The moratorium to build or to stop 70 luxury homes up in South Hills isn't even approaching the issue to the rest of the city. This is the moratorium. It's a 2-page item. The first matter is whether the standards for parking for what they say in here, a 4,000 square foot home are appropriate. I talk to the builder. I do my homework before I come and speak to the City Council. You have 70 homes going up at $1.2 to $1.5 million with 3- and 4-car garages. What do you mean there ain't going to be adequate parking? At Orange and Badillo, between me and Mr. Herford, that's larger than the front yard that you allowed a builder to put in there. I could stand between 2 homes on the west side of West Covina, and these standards don't even apply. Where were these standards on my side of town? You guys say you represent all of West Covina? You're a builder. The people in the community at the Planning Commission said they didn't want that many homes in that small a space. That's where McCoy's Market used to be. Where were these standards then? They should apply all of the time to all of the city. On Azusa, you have homes. I have a 700 form here, and on the top of the 700 form is Mike Toohey's name. Guess who gave money to Toohey? Pacific Development. When Pacific Development could not guarantee the hill wouldn't slide, even Lloyd's of London wouldn't insure that hill at a cost that was effective or at least affordable to this city. So what did the city do? It assumed the liability for the hill sliding. And then it told the homeowners, 10 years from now, you're on your own. And now you want to stop a man who's going to give money for permits for building homes, to the school district to build. You're going to create jobs, Mr. Sotelo? 70 homes. How many construction jobs will that bring? You said you wanted to raise revenue for the city for a $700,000 building. I mean, $700,000 for a building here at our Civic Center. How much revenue and property taxes will luxury homes bring to this city to pay for fire and police? And you guys want to stop the project? Okay, let me finish again. The next thing is, in this moratorium, Mr. Anderson writes about drainage. My wife has an uncle who lives in La Crescenta. You cannot make drainage on a hill come straight down. It always cuts across at an angle, left to right or right to left. So what does a man who pays $1.2 to $1.5 million do? He doesn't do the gardening. He gets a professional landscape architect and he has a gardener. My wife's uncle doesn't do the gardening, and he doesn't clean the culvert behind his house. The gardener does that. So when he says there's a drainage problem, ladies and gentlemen, the San Jose Hills has over 500 homes under the current standards, and we don't have a problem with drainage now. So why do you want to stop this project? Because certain members, certain special interests have an axe to grind with the developer. Now the next question Mr. Anderson put in here, whether there should be a ratio between the house size and the lot. You didn't do that at Orange and Badillo. I could stand between two houses in my side of town. I can put one hand and touch one house, and my left hand can touch the other. That is how close you let the developer put in houses. You didn't have a set aside. You didn't have a guarantee on the lot size, and the community fought it, but you guys overruled everybody and let the developer come in who benefited certain council members. This moratorium is not about the rest of West Covina. This is about certain city councilmen who are going to get this city sued. They're going to spend more money on legal fees when we need the revenue that would be generated by 1.2 to $1.5 million homes. So I'd like to ask Mr. Anderson,
excuse me, Madam Mayor, speakers see their 5 minutes.
Who asked him to write this moratorium? Because it's a bunch of bunk. It doesn't apply to the rest of the city.
Thank you very much. Our next speaker is Mr. Bruce Lineback.
I didn't know I was speaking. I thought I was supposed to speak at the time of the agenda item. Pardon?
It is not a public hearing.
Oh, it isn't? Okay. Well, first of all, I want to comment about that. First of all, I want to say I want to congratulate the staff for the great function they had for Andy Passmont, past city manager. Andy was a great city manager. He had a good personality, always had a smile, always calm, cool, and collected. We'll miss Andy. And also I want to give special recognition to Chris Freeland. I know his dad, Ed, sold him a house. And I know him many years. I want to commend him for all the work he's done to get this cable TV come into effect. I think it's going to start in what, first meeting in June, is that right? So it's going to be great. It's going to make the people be able to see their meetings instead of the back of somebody's head. I just want to speak briefly about this proposed development. First of all, I bought my house up on Sandy Hill Drive in 1985. And I remember up on Sandy Hill Drive, there's always nice, beautiful hills. You had deer, all this wildlife, and it was such a nice place to buy because you had the wilderness almost. And I remember my son, he was about 5 years old, or 4 years old, and we lost him. He ran away, he went down this creek. We finally found him, but that's how it was then, but we got him back, for better or worse. And but I just want to comment about this. I remember that first development went in there, how they changed and recontoured the hills. I would prefer it would have stayed the same way, but it didn't. And I think whoever the owner was, Ziad Development or whatever, they had about 300 and some homes. I think he sold off about 220 lots. They started building them between about 1996 or 97 and 2002, and all the 200 homes or 200 lots were built. Subsequently, we have 80 lots remaining. And it kind of bugs me. I've been up there 20 years, and these lots sit vacant. They aren't going to be developed. Why they haven't been developed today, I don't know all the ramifications, all the answers. What bugs me is here we are. We got 80 lots, and you put them a price between 1.2, 1.5 million. That's almost over another $100 million in property valuation. I think that amount to about 1%, which would be about 1.5 million. I think the city gets about half of that. And then conversely, we're talking about this development, this office medical development, which is current under litigation. That's going to produce, I think, about $25,000 a year. Also the development fees. Each property, when they are developed, they have to pay about $40,000 in development fees. And a lot of that money goes to the school. A lot of those property taxes go to the school, school of West Covina School District. So we have all this money going out, and the point is this: now you got 80 lots, 80 homes, where you can develop in over $100 million in property tax, and you're raising the standards. Why are you raising the standards? A lot of people say didn't get along with the current owner or whatever. And I don't know why we have to raise the standards or make it more difficult to develop. We want those hills developed, and I know there's financial differences between the city and the owner, but still at the same time, we're spending all this money to develop the property of the medical condos. We got this litigation when everybody's opposed to it. Probably cost the city $500,000 in attorney fees. Now I know you're going to have litigation. We don't need to make the attorneys rich. I just think we should move forward and try to make it more develop friendly. And we're just kind of turning our backs. I mean, I'd like to see here. I've been there for almost 25 years, and we got these vacant lots, and you're going to make it maybe be another 25 years. Before they're developed, and I don't know if I'll be here at that time. I think we should vote against that and be more developer friendly and get those 80 vacant lots developed for $1 million, $1.5 million, and $1.25. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Our next speaker is John Henman.
Mayor, City Council, thanks for having me. My name is John Hyman. I'm with the Baldy View chapter of the Building Industry Association of Southern California. We represent over 1,000 member companies, including home builders, tradesmen, and vendors and the like. The Baldy View chapter urges you to oppose the proposed building moratorium for the specific areas in the South Hills community of West Covina. In terms of single-family home building permits annually, please note that these remaining 79 lots in South Hills will represent the single-family development opportunity, the best single-family development opportunity in West Covina for the past decade, according to your building permits, with the exception of 2004, where you saw 110 building permits pulled. The unintentional consequences of a proposed moratorium would deny hundreds of jobs opportunities to the people of West Covina and the surrounding areas that would be contracted for the construction of these homes. It's painfully obvious that the economy has not exactly been user-friendly here in the recent years, so I would highly encourage you to oppose this moratorium and work with the building industry to identify solutions to work another way around it. So, thank you.
Thank you very much. Our next speaker is Mr. Lloyd Johnson.
Council members, in the last couple of meetings, I've asked our mayor the same 4 questions. And as of today, she's refused to answer any one of those questions. So I can't presume her answers are what they are. She can't correct me if I'm wrong. Do you support the appeal on the lawsuit of the Civic Center? You've never given us an answer so far, so I can't presume that you do support the appeal. And cost the taxpayers thousands and thousands of dollars for the appeal. Do you feel it was right to give yourself a supplemental retirement above what you will already be getting when you retire? Since you refused to answer that one, I can't presume you do feel it was all right for you to give yourself that, which will be ripping the taxpayers off for your own good, and which will cost us thousands and thousands of dollars. Do you feel it was right to give former city manager credit for all the years in his CalPERS when he worked for other cities, which the taxpayers of West Covina got nothing out of it except the bill? Since you refused to answer that, I must presume, you must feel it was all right to do it and cost the taxpayers thousands and thousands of dollars. And the last question I asked for the fourth time, do you feel the statement that Councilmember Herford made about Councilmember Sykes was okay? And you refused to answer that one. So I must presume you feel the statement that he made was just fine with you.
Thank you. Our next speaker. And let me just say for the public, I have offered to meet with any resident that ever wants to meet with me. I don't like to delve into personal issues. I think that we are here to run the city's business, but I am always open. My door is always open if someone would like to meet with me and ask me any questions in that. It's just not the place or the time. So with that, and also too, I'd just like to remind the residents and speakers that we do have rules of decorum, and that under Section 248, all remarks shall be addressed to the council as a body and not to any member thereof, and we would appreciate it if we do keep our rules of decorum. And with that, I'd like to call forward our next speaker, Roberto M. Reyes.
Roberto Reyes?
Yes. Thank you for being here tonight.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor and honorable members of the City Council, distinguished city officials, ladies and gentlemen. I came to address the question of establishing 3 memorials in West Covina. Remember the example of Israel. Israel planted 6 million trees to honor the 6 million victims of the Holocaust. Once a tree is declared in Israel as a memorial tree, it is never cut down until it dies because of natural causes. So I propose that we start with the corner of the Civic Center with 140 trees that we can name for the 21 mayors of West Covina, the past and present chiefs of police, fire chiefs, city managers, that will not even probably come up with 140 distinguished individuals. So if we dedicate the 140 trees as 3 memorials to our honorable and distinguished public servants, we cannot cut them, right? And I further propose that since West Covina is Tree City, USA, we target to plant 1 million hardwood trees in 10 years. And we will ask individual families of West Covina, which I think is in excess of 20,000 households, to sponsor at least a tree in honor of their family or patriarch of the family. This is, the whole world is getting hot. And according to scientists, the best and the easiest way to combat global warming is to plant trees, especially hardwood trees. If we plant like 1,000 redwoods in West Covina, the redwood trees exist for more than 1,000 years. Long after we would be gone, the trees will be there in honor, for instance, of Mayor Shelley Sanderson. 1,000 years. Now, would you care to cut the 140 trees, or rather name them after the distinguished public servants who have served the people of West Covina? And we fight global warming, and eventually the sea level will rise to as high as 220 feet by the end of this century. By the time most of Los Angeles will be underwater, West Covina, of course, is on the high grounds. So there is no reason. We must save the planet Earth, and let's start with the 140 trees. We can name them immediately if you would care to pass a resolution after the 21 mayors, the number of police chiefs, city managers, fire chiefs. We can name them after community leaders who have served distinguishedly the city. And this is a very important factor in the environment. We must save the planet. Without the planet, there will be no United States of America. There will be no West Covina. There will be no California. In fact, I am, by the way, this may be my last appearance before the Honorable City Council. I'm going back to the Philippines, my home country, to spearhead the planting of 500 million trees. 500 million, 500 million. Because everybody, all Filipinos, even the Filipino Americans of West Covina, understand the significance of global warming, the climate change. So I beg you, distinguished members of the City Council, to start with the project of memorial trees. And the whole of West Covina won't forget you for hundreds of years, even after you have joined the Creator in the great beyond. People will appreciate your move of establishing, like Israel, the memorial trees. Thank you and good night.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Eric Sheik with Vandale Homes.
Good evening, council members. Eric is actually in the corner. We were going to speak together as a group for the public hearing. So I'm Michael Vandale with Vandale Homes. And we're relatively new to the city. We felt that we did our homework coming to the city. We actually own 22 lots in the South Hills area. That's the area the moratorium is being considered. As we came to the city, we were aware of this issue arising, I believe it was last January. We inquired about it to city staff and were led to believe and confirmed that it would not be an issue. And based on that fact, we made a decision to invest in the city. We think it's a great city. We think we have a great project, and we're happy to be in the city. Obviously, this position with a moratorium in front of us is not something we anticipated, and it's not a comfortable position for us. So we would obviously like to see it not move forward. In the event that it does, we have formally submitted a proposal to the city that lays out our floor plans as well as our development plan, and we have received comments on that. And seeing the comments we received as well as some of the items that are in the ordinance tonight proposing the moratorium, we feel that our project meets some of those already. There are others that it's close to meeting that we very easily could meet, and there are others that we would just appreciate more time with your staff to work through those issues. We see ourselves as a builder that partners in the communities we work in, and we take pride in not bringing on controversial projects. So this isn't a position we want to be in. We would be happy to offer our project as a template to work with city and staff to come up with a design that the city appreciates and they're happy with and that we're happy with also. So if this does get adopted and there is a moratorium, we'd really appreciate the time and attention of your staff so that we could work through these issues with you. The greatest reason that we would prefer this moratorium not happen is the financial hardship that it would bring to our project. We made a commitment to our lenders that we could deliver a project and there would be no delays to it. There are clauses in that construction loan that due to delays they can call the entire loan due, which obviously would be a significant financial hardship to us. So if there's an opportunity for us to work with staff or avoid this altogether, we'd appreciate it. But if we do end up having the moratorium placed on us, we would really appreciate the opportunity to work with the city to create an ordinance that they like and that can do a good job for the city and for us. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Our next speaker is Elsie Messman.
Mayor, council, staff, and everyone here tonight. My name is Elsie Messman, and a resident of West Covina. And I have some questions on the moratorium on the construction of homes in South Hills. This city is in need of funds, yet they refuse to allow the building of these homes. Why? Is this council thinking of the city, or is it mean-spirited vendetta? Do all these recommendations affect all the developers? So far, you've been acting like little children. You spend all the money, and then you want to jam projects that people don't want down their throats, and yet the projects that should be approved are stalled. All you seem to care about is your contractor. I will repeat, your contractors. I see homes getting built and given various variances without a problem in other areas of the city. I would like to know how a 9-bedroom home in a 4-bedroom neighborhood got approved. This area is not zoned for a Motel 9. Mayor Sanderson, if you love this city like you say you do the right thing for the residents and approve this project. And Councilor Sotelo, you want to put more people to work, now is your chance to prove that you can do it. Councilman McIntyre, I haven't seen any of your projects rejected, and I've been coming to the meetings for over 6 years. And Councilman Seitz, I know you will do the right thing because you believe in fair and equal representation. For the last 6 years, all I've seen is your contractors making money, the attorneys making money, the council making money, the city losing money. How about this council listening to the residents for a change? Do what's right for the residents of this city and let the project proceed. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Our next speaker, I have Gregory and Michael with Van D Homes. Did you guys want to speak together, or did you want to just be here and we know you're here and have any questions for you? Thank you so much. Okay, with that, I will call forward Phil Kaufman.
Mayor, members of the council, staff. On the afternoon of April 22nd at about 4 o'clock, my wife and I were on our way home after doing a few errands, and as we exited the freeway and headed north on Vincent Avenue, we saw a giant plume of smoke billowing into the sky. As we inched forward in very, very heavy traffic, we saw that the smoke was coming from an area very close to our home. As we got to the street just south of ours, we saw that was where the fire was coming from, and though it was the street before, it was on our block and very close to our home. We got a bit further to our street. The first street where the fire was totally blocked off. We managed to get to our street, which was partially blocked off, and we were able to turn onto the street and proceed a few houses down about halfway towards our home. We saw fire engines there, police, we saw down power lines, we saw a couple of trees on fire, and we saw the fabulous West Covina Fire Department doing just an incredible job in putting out fires in 2 homes that turned out to be 3 houses from ours. This morning, I had a great conversation with our Fire Chief, Rick Genovese, and I was able to tell him what a great job we felt the fire department did in 20 minutes putting out these massive fires in 2 homes. One house was totally destroyed. The second one was severely damaged. Trees on fire, power lines down. It took them 20 minutes to put this out. No other structures caught on fire, no other trees. There was no further damage than those initial homes. And I can't say enough about the great job done by our fire department, and I thank Chief Genovese for the great job that he's doing. West Covina Police was also present, and they also did a great job in keeping the crowds calm, keeping everyone safe. We were stopped about halfway down our block for about an hour and a half while things continued progressing with the fire department, with Edison taking care of the power lines. My wife is disabled. She generally uses a wheelchair, and it was very difficult for her to be in the car as long as she was for an hour and a half after we'd already done several errands. And as soon as it was possible to wind our way through, I'd like to single out Officer Ray Perez of the West Covina Police Department, who I had been speaking with and knew our situation, my wife's situation. And as soon as it was possible, he guided us through the other side and got us through some of the barricades that some of the other officers weren't too willing to do, and got us to our driveway, and so my wife could go back in the house and lay down after this experience. Edison was called to the scene to fix some power lines. And in my conversation with the fire chief today, I asked him what the procedure was about calling utilities when there is a fire like this. And what he told me was the general procedure the fire department follows is that where there are down lines, they'll call Edison, they'll call the gas company when they see a danger such as that. But what I found when we got into our house was that our Verizon landline was not working. I called Verizon on my cell phone, and it took me an hour trying to get through to people to explain the situation, that there was not our line, it was a fire in the area 3 houses away, and that it somehow damaged the landline phone system, and it needed to be fixed. And of course the person at Verizon said they can't do anything until the next morning. The next morning came and nobody came out. Phones were still not working. So I decided to go to the Verizon store. Maybe I could talk to somebody in person. And the people there only wanted to sell me new products, and all they could do was put me on the phone with another service representative who again said they can't do anything that day, but somebody will be out the next morning. So I spent 2 hours dealing with Verizon over 2 days, and the phone service finally came on late Tuesday night or early Wednesday morning. There's a lot of elderly people in our area. My next door neighbor passed away last month at 91. He lived alone. He didn't have a cell phone. Another neighbor died a couple of months before that. She was 95. She lived alone, and she didn't have a cell phone. I think that we need to change the procedure so that when there's a fire like this in a residential area, that the fire department or the police department also contacts Verizon so they can check their landline service and make sure that the phone system is working as soon as possible, so people like our former 90-year-old neighbors are not deprived of the one lifeline they might have in a situation like this. And again, I want to thank the fire department and the police department for the great job they did.
Thank you. Our next speaker is John Shoemaker.
At the last council meeting, a number of concerned residents spoke regarding Steve Herbert's refusal to admit he did anything that a rational person may believe was inappropriate. Some even addressed the council's lack of concern by their silence of Mr. Herbert's statements and refusal to take any action. Many residents are wondering what is going on in this city. Are some members of this council so out of touch with reality that they think our residents will believe anything the council says? Or does the council think the residents of this city are so in love with them that they will believe anything the council tells them? We have Councilmember Sotelo thanking Mr. Herford for apologizing to fellow council members when Mr. Sykes was the one wronged. What was dumbfounding is Mr. Sotelo thanked Mr. Herford for apologizing to the public. Mr. Sotelo, please point out on the tape where Herford apologized to the public. I can't find it, and neither can anybody else. Mr. Sotelo, are you not the same person who was shocked and disappointed when you learned our city uses outdated fire equipment from the newspaper, although it's been in the budget and related updates for the last 6 years? We have the mayor telling people if they have personal issues to give her a call, as the council has important city business to conduct. I must wonder if her concern about the appearance of racist comments by a member of our council is personal or public business. Also, I agree the city has important business it must conduct. But this comment came after canceling the previous meeting for lack of business. Even more ridiculous, the request to cancel the next meeting to install the video cameras, and tonight she talked about how we have important business to do. As I've stated before, the council has important business to conduct, but this council is incapable of handling most of those issues. There's an old saying, there's horses for courses. Well, we need horses that can win the Triple Crown. This council is glue factory rejects. With the public wanting the council to take action, be proactive, pointing out we are in debt by hundreds of millions of dollars, and those bonds are collateralized by our parks and other city facilities. We are down 40 police officers, a fire department about ready to lose 12 members, dozens of city employees fired, park maintenance in question, selling land at City Hall that people do not want sold, and fire equipment better suited serving the public in a museum than on the streets show people care about our city. Whereas the mayor believes, as did the city councils of Vallejo, Stockton, and San Bernardino, see no evil, hear no evil, speak no evil, shows you care about the community. They all filed for bankruptcy. Are we next? Mr. McIntyre, we had such hope for you regarding your comment on selling City Hall land. Please let me know the council meeting. The council voted to use the money from the sale of this land at City Hall for a new fire truck. Finance 101 says when you sell a capital asset and you replace that asset with an equivalent asset, not another type or class of asset. I assumed you understood that concept, even though you did go to USC. But now to Mr. Herford. Can we ask some questions for clarification without it being personal or racist? I have a few questions.
I'm going to stop you right now. I've been advised by counsel that all remarks must be addressed to the body, and then we don't want to have the interrogating kind of stuff going on. Just please address your comments to the council. I'd greatly appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay. I won't ask him the question. I'll ask in general. Mr. Herford has shown his disdain for Mr. Sykes constantly. Before his election, when Mr. Sykes spoke to the council, Herford would dismiss him. As a member of the council, Mr. Herford has shown his lack of respect for Mr. Sykes at almost every council meeting he's decided to attend. Therefore, I had to wonder, does he show this lack of respect for Mr. Sykes because Mr. Sykes is a retired deputy sheriff, or because you feel he does not have the intelligence to be on this council? I decided to look back at the interaction of this specific council member at other meetings. I've been attending meetings since 97, 98. Mr. Wong was treated with the same disrespect that's shown for Mr. Sykes. Since he was treated in the same manner as Mr. Sykes, I realized the conduct toward Mr. Wong could not be because of his intelligence, because he holds a PhD in chemistry from USC. Therefore, he must have treated Mr. Wong the same way, because Mr. Wong is, the owner of the restaurant that you wash dishes in as a teenager. Councilmember Hernandez was the next member you had issues. You tried everything you could to make him look bad. Wouldn't do anything to help him. I can only assume you treated Roger the same way because he is an upcoming, young, successful politician and you are not. As I look at the three council members, the most issues you've had with over the years, they had nothing in common unless you consider Mr. Sykes is an African American, Mr. Wong is from an Asian descent, and Mr. Hernandez is Hispanic.
Excuse me, Madam Mayor. Speaker, see there 5 minutes.
No common factor there, unless you consider the broader category. Each of them is a member of the minority community, but then he claims not to be racist.
Our next speaker.
Madam Mayor, I want to comment on that if I can.
Mayor Pro Tem Herford.
You know what? It really doesn't deserve a comment. People that have lived in this community for a long time know Steve Herford, and they know that Steve Herford isn't anything that you described right there. I've been on this council 23 years. I've accomplished a lot in this community. I'm proud of the job that I've done in this city. I don't deserve an attack like that, Mr. Shoemaker, and you, who has a daughter who sits on the school board, should know better than to come up and challenge an elected official with comments like that. It's totally uncalled for. It's disgraceful. You owe me an apology. I apologize. No. You owe me an apology for those comments you made right there.
Those are truthful comments.
Okay, I'm not going to have back and forth from the audience. It's actually against our decorum, and my job is to keep the decorum of the meeting. I apologize to all the kids and residents that are here tonight. Sometimes it gets exciting, so you should come more often.
Madam Mayor.
There is a point of order, and Mayor Pro Tem Herford, you have the floor, and we need to.
Thank you. Mr. Shoemaker, I let you speak, and I didn't interrupt you, so I appreciate just that you could give me the respect, too.
May I respond back?
No.
Okay, I think it's fruitless, but I just want to say this. At the last meeting, I asked a question a long time ago, and some members of this community want to make something that it's not, and I apologize to the council and to Mr. Sykes, and that was from the heart. So with that, the issue's over. It was a blanket community apology. If there was something I offended somebody with a question, I apologize. Apologize to anybody in the public. But to call me the names you called me tonight, those are slanderous and they're untrue. And people that know Steve Herford, they know that what you said is wrong. And I really, you embarrass yourself tonight, Mr. Shoemaker.
Okay, so we just want to move forward. Our next speaker is Shirley Buchanan.
Good evening, Mayor Sanderson and members of the City Council and Mayor Pro Tem Herford. I was quite surprised. Is this on? Yeah. I was quite surprised when I read the article in the San Gabriel Valley Tribune about the city filing, the successor agency filing a lawsuit against the state of California, and 1 through 50 people that have yet to be named, plus many agencies. The question I have tonight, is, have to put the spectacles on. When was the lawsuit that the successor agency to the former West Covina Community Development, a California successor agency, and City of West Covina, a California municipal corporation, filed against the state of California and others on May 1st? When was it approved? Was it approved at an executive session of the successor agency to the former West Covina Community Development? And then when was it voted on at an executive session of the West Covina City Council? And then what date was the lawsuit reported at the next regular council meeting to the residents in the minutes of that meeting? Should have been a sequence of events when it was handled in executive session and then finally reported prior to it being filed to the citizens of West Covina. I looked at the rope from January 13th through June 30th of 2013, and the anticipated litigation amount is $3,652,000. That means that you've been looking ahead to see how much litigation there may be on trying to settle this redevelopment problem, and it is a problem for the city. So if, let's just say, half of those legal fees were going to be paid or approved by the state of California, what kind of litigation are you looking towards? Also, if we don't have any money to pay this litigation, is Mr. Alvarez Glassman performing it pro bono? Thank you.
Thank you. We'll get the questions answered, written down, and we'll get those answered. Okay? Thank you. Next speaker is Mr. Herb Redholz.
Thank you very much. Good evening, Madam Mayor and members of the City Council, staff, and all the fine folks out here tonight. There was an article in the Tribune this week stating that the city, as the last speaker was just speaking about, filed a lawsuit against the state to try and save our redevelopment money and keep it from being flushed down the state toilet. And I commend you for that, and more power to you trying to do that. In that article, the mayor was quoted as stating that the city will do everything it can to protect and preserve the taxpayers' money of the city of West Covina. With that in mind, I do have a question. And it relates to the decision to file the appeal on the proposed building here at Civic Center. At that meeting, the mayor was not present. There was a motion made and a vote taken to approve that appeal. The vote has now been stated publicly in open session. I firmly believe that the mayor owes it to the residents to disclose the mayor's position on that motion. I think we have a right to know. The other council members are on record publicly. Whether you agree or disagree with their position is known publicly. I, for one, do not think it is right to say, well, call me and I'll tell you. The other members have made their position known publicly. And I think it is in the voters, the residents, have a right to know for several reasons. One, this is an election year. And your seat is up, and should you decide to run, we would like to know where you stand on this item. So again, I would ask that the mayor publicly make a statement regarding the position on this item. I think we have a right to know. The other point is on the moratorium. That is item number 8. I don't understand the reason for this moratorium, quite frankly. Maybe I'm missing something, but when a project comes forward and it comes to the planning department, the planning commission, and the city council, there is a process, a series of checks and balances that is done as part of routine to approve any project that comes forward. I don't really understand the need to declare a moratorium for this particular parcel, for this particular area of the city. Why is it getting singled out for this particular treatment? I don't understand that. Maybe it can be explained to me so I will understand it. Because it does concern me, the fact that the city, no secret, we need the money. This is 75 or 79, whatever the amount of homes is over there. These are high-end homes that are going to bring in people that can afford the high-end homes and their families. They're going to pay property tax every single year, not to the tune of hundreds of thousands of dollars and more that the city needs. Going to bring in families, are going to spend money here that are going to go to our schools here, and for some reason we don't want that. I don't know, where's our mindset here, folks? I mean, come on. We all have issues with, the developers and other people, but you know what? Sometimes you just have to look at the bigger picture and do what's right, do what's best for the city and its residents, as you all claim to want to do. I think it's time to start doing that. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Mr. Cameron Saylor. I guess you're popular.
We brought a good crowd with us tonight.
There you go.
Cameron Saylor, 2044 Cameo Vista. I've been a resident for 23 years. Madam Mayor, council members, I do appreciate the opportunity to speak in front of you tonight. And I want to talk on a positive note. 23 years ago, this council invested $330,000 in the Maverick Field. That was to a private group, Maverick Development Group, that had a little vision, but the vision came with the city council, and some of those council members are still around today, past ones, and then Shelley Sanderson, who has had some passion in that area at the same time as well. But I want to talk about that investment. That investment really has net a significant development among public and private entities. And what that really means is, through 25 years of Duke's baseball, San Gabriel Valley Arsenal, Maverick Baseball Academy baseball, we have developed about $24 million in scholarships that have come through that program. We put a high emphasis on grades, grade point average, and our grade point average GPA parallels what an NCAA requirement is for these athletes to reach their goals down the line. Now, the program, it's a high level of baseball and it's not for everybody, but we put a high emphasis on West Covina residents. I can tell you that last season, 90% of the West Covina residents that tried out made the program. And we put a high level of community events together every year. We do what we call a winter workout every year, and we have about 160 kids that come out and do a clinic that are 16 West Covina volunteers that are parents and, well, really non-parents, and parents have gone through the program, and volunteers that live in this city that put their time and effort day in and day out in that program to help these kids support that. We do have non-resident coaches as well, but there are 16 residents that are passionate about this program and have made this program work for more than 25 years. We are headed into our 26th year. Today, the community events that we host, we just recently did, the Arsenal did a Walmarado baseball clinic for the entire program over at Walmarado. That is, it's a city amongst itself. Edgewood talks about his city, but we also held that clinic and ran that clinic for them. We do our winter workouts. It's 160 kids every year. Within that, there's usually about 30 kids and any West Covina resident that cannot afford or pay for that $30 clinic that we do, and it's 12 hours of instruction. It's free. We also have 15% of our annual budget that goes back to what we call scholarships. And we have a saying that no kid left behind. If you make the program and you make the team, you will go with us anywhere we go. We will fund you if you can't afford for you to go. We will make sure that you're there. We do fundraisers each year. We have generous contributions through the certain foundations within the city and private donors, and we appreciate that to a great extent. That $330,000 investment more than 23 years ago has been probably one of the better investments that goes on, and that was because the city had the foresight to redevelop a facility that was dormant and had really lost baseball on the west side or the east side of West Covina. We really continue to create partnerships with all the local Little Leagues, all of them. We've had 6 past Little League presidents that have been coaches and are current coaches in the program today. We have a Walmarado president that looks like he will come in and coach with us. And we continue to put a high level of emphasis on developing the players and kids within this in this city at the same time. We've given $3,500 a year to the City of West Covina's after-school program when they lost their funding for that, and we continue to help fund that program. We continue year in and year out to work with underprivileged kids. This year we were invited to Arsenal, we're invited to Dodger Stadium for a baseball clinic. San Gabriel Valley Arsenal, West Covina Dukes Maverick Baseball Academy were invited by the Jackie Robinson Foundation to come to Dodger Stadium and teach kids baseball. That's part of the national recognition that has taken place because of Maverick Field. Wherever I travel in this country with these young men back here, people know the West Covina Dukes. They know Maverick Field, and they always say that is the best program in the country, and it is because of this council and the support that you guys have given us for the years in the past, and we appreciate that, and we thank you very much for your support.
Thank you. I know it's wonderful. I know you're busy, and we appreciate you all coming out and talking to the council and letting the community know about your program. We really appreciate that.
Madam Mayor, can I just say a couple things?
Mayor Pro Tem Herford.
Back in 1991, when Maverick Development Group formed, they came to the council at the time, and I was on the council. I've been on the council 23 years. We started a public-private partnership. We took a field that was basically gopher hole ridden, not anywhere near what it was today. Many of you remember that, and turned it into a world-class facility. Cameron's been there from the start, and I went out there the other day, and he's working on the field at 3 in the afternoon. I mean, the man donates so much of his time, as do all of you. I mean, this field is nationally known and is just incredible. And everybody that's been involved, and there's many major leaguers that have come out of this league, I mean, it is just a tremendous success. The scholarships, I mean, when we hear those numbers, it just, that's staggering. We once did a TV show on the economics of baseball, and we talked about how baseball tournaments brought in revenue to the city, and we did it at Maverick Field. And that was a tremendous thing for the city. But to have our youth go on and to go to college and to get an education and then to play, a lot of them play pro ball or college ball and then be successful, that's the ultimate. And every one of these gentlemen that are here today that are playing ball, I mean, they're excellent role models for all of us, and we really appreciate you coming out tonight. When we talk about West Covina, and you know, sometimes these meetings can get pretty raw, but when I walk around the city, there's 118,000 people that love West Covina, and there's a few that come to these meetings, they don't like West Covina. And so the message that I want to send is, we love West Covina, and we're going to continue to do the things we've done here for a long time because they're good things. And that's not us. That's you. You are the ones. If we can support it anyway, we're here for you. So thank you all.
Next speaker is Felly McIntosh.
Good evening, everyone. I would like to thank all of you for your hard work making this city one of the best places to live. Special thanks to Mayor Shelley Sanderson and Councilman Steve Herford for serving the city for the longest time. Steve's dedication, being professional, and his integrity made him serve the city for the longest time. Shelley Sanderson, who is a family-oriented woman, always try to help and find answers for the concerns of the residents. I would like to thank you because I know the economy is bad, but you just didn't maintain the street cleaning, but you made it better doing it once a week rather than once every 2 weeks. You did a good job and keep it up. Thank you so much and good night.
Our next speaker is Jessica Shoemaker.
Hello, everyone. I originally was not going to speak tonight, but what has become a habit here is anytime my father speaks in front of the council, my name is sort of dragged in here as a battering ram against him. I find it appalling that it continues to happen. I respect your positions as council members. I expect the same respect for my position as a board member. You asked the question if at our school board meetings we allow the type of discourse that happens at city council meetings. And the answer is no. And the reason is we have a very strict board policy that during public comment, it is for the public. Board members do not answer questions. They do not respond to the community so that our community gets the opportunity to address us as is their right. Is it sometimes difficult to keep from responding to what is said? Yes. But part of our duty as elected officials is understanding that our community, right or wrong, has the absolute 100% right to address their concerns with us. So I hope that answers any question you may have as to what is allowed at West Covina Unified School District Board meetings. Mr. Herford.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Frank Williams.
Good evening, buenos noches. How's everybody doing? I'm so excited to be up here, and I just want to say thank you, staff. I like to come up here. I always get excited to come up here to address Mayor Shelley Sanderson and, of course, all respected council. As a father of 5, a resident of West Covina for more than 20 years, a proud resident, I'm one of the few that actually register to vote and actually vote. So I take very much pride. So I'm sorry to say a lot of the youngsters have left because I really wanted the message, especially when I see these volunteers. Cam, that man, he coached my boys. I have 4 boys, 1 daughter. It is just amazing that I sit here and hear the negativity just spew, and I just drive by many cities that are left in the aftermath of turmoil that would give anything they could to have what we have built. And when I say we, as a proud resident, I mean the decisions that you, Mr. Herford, being here the longest, and our respected council members. And thank you to Mr. Sykes for attending our opening day football. I wanted to make sure I mentioned that as a volunteer also. I've been a volunteer for many years. I think my first year started in 1996. So it's a city of volunteers, but I sit back and I think about development. We had this crazy, sore subject here in this city. I don't remember the name, but the initials were BKK. And somebody had the foresight and the fortitude to develop something. And now I drive by a wonderful facility. I see kids, I see economics, I see all kinds of development. So I know that when we go slow and steady, there's development at every turn. I sit back and listen to the wonderful comments the gentleman made about our esteemed fire department and police department. That does not happen by accident. I remember back a few years when our ups and downs through our economic travesties, that the comments, that the fact that our city might be a training city, but I'm glad that our residents, that we sit there and look at our police force and our fire department, and we see that they know our cities, they know our neighborhoods, and that's not by any accident. For them to care, to go out of their way for that man's wife, it's sentimental to me, because I sit back and think about, he didn't have to do that. But that's just what's grown here. That's the foundation that this city has been built on. So yes, we can agree to disagree. There's a lot of different issues that I didn't agree on, that I fought and rallied, especially when they tried to split our city up. And now I can set up an appointment with all 5 councilmen and complain and give my concerns, instead of just one in one precinct like many other cities that have that terrible issue. The fact that I can come up here as a proud American and resident of West Covina to sit here and voice my concerns and have them addressed, that's the best. And of course with respect that's due, because again, like our past city councilman, Mr. Toohey, there isn't a park that you cannot go by and not see the fruits of all of your labors. And I'm going to tell you right now, when I sit back and look at these developments and I see, we're over here, at the Eastland Mall, the West Covina Mall, I'm on the other side at Nogales, we've got different centers all over the place. There's a lot of stuff happening in our city, and yes, right now, over the last few years in our economic challenges, I've been focused on trying to keep my kids in college, pay my bills, do what I have to do to try to survive through this crazy mess. But it gives me knowing that I don't have to be here every meeting to see what's going on, because it's obvious of what's going on. And I welcome the fact that we have developers that want to stand in line and figure out whatever the meetings are, which way we go on the development. I trust that our city council will make the right decisions, because obviously over the last 20 years their decisions have been very fruitful. And the fact that we can take one small comment and try to make that look like that's the foundation, that's not. And I am embarrassed for some of the comments that I've heard out here, but I can see with the strength and the unity that all of us have here as residents, as a family man, and seeing everything that goes on every day, even though that we're going at the speed of life, I am proud to call myself a resident of West Covina. So thank you.
Thank you. I think I'll have to use that one, speed of life. That's what it feels like, for sure. Our next speaker is Michelle Lopez. Thank you for waiting. A big evening here.
Thank you, Mayor, council members, and staff. My name is Michelle Lopez. I've been a resident of West Covina for about 10 years, and I just wanted to commend the sorry, I'm nervous. I just wanted to commend the West Covina Street Hockey Association. They've really do have a fantastic program for the kids. My son attends there, and it just is so grateful for all of us to know that there's a safe environment for our kids. The program's free for residents that can't afford to do other events that we have here in West Covina, and it's just been an amazing program, and it's really definitely blossomed my son with social skills. So I just wanted to commend them. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And thank you for coming. We welcome people to come and talk with us and not be afraid. We definitely appreciate it. I stood there once. I think all of us have at some point, and, but you're right. It does blossom the kids. I know I started my 5-year-old, and now he's 21, and a successful man. I'm very proud of him. And he was shy, and we thought, oh, we'll get him into hockey so he won't be so shy. And the coaches helped him come out of his shell. He made so many friends. It was like a big family there. So it's a fantastic thing. So thank you for being here. Looks Michael Christophone, I'm sorry. I'm wearing my glasses and I can't see. Michael Christophone, Christofone. Here? It's either I'm pronouncing it wrong or they've left. Okay, Brian Garland.
I was going to speak on other things, and I will, but I just wanted to say that, you know, this has been such a wonderful community. I mean, really, we've been here since '95. I did the retrofit of our facility in 2003, and I don't think I've ever heard anything at a council meeting that was just so appalling as some of the attacks tonight, and it was just, you know, it's upset me. I know we had a lot of people here, and that was hard to believe. You know, I think that everybody, when they come up here, and there's going to be disagreements, but the personal attacks, just unbelievable, regardless of any council member. I've known a lot of these council members on and off over our 17 years, and I've never felt one way or another. There's always disagreements, but I've never seen that where just nasty and just unacceptable. So I just want to make sure and say that. And I did want to say how great the council in the city has been. Maverick is just an amazing program. Cameron Gym, BLD, our facility. I don't think there's another, I doubt there's another facility in California like our facility, and the vision that the council had when they built it. We came here, like I said, in '95. We didn't have much of anything, but we had an idea that this would be a great program and a great place for it. And it's gone. The facility has paid back the city over $1.1 million in fees. That's from my percentage of a gross revenue from all of our programming. The facility is almost paid for. And that's what I mean. I don't think there's another facility out there that has paid itself back like that in recreation. So, and that was, you know, Mr. Herford in '95, and then Ms. Sanderson in 2003 especially, just saw it, just saw the program and what it could do and what it could do for the residents. And they had vision, and like I said, just like Maverick Field, just like Cameron Gym, the other cities we've dealt with, we've had 11 rinks in 7 cities. The other cities haven't been like this city. They haven't seen it like this city, and the programs they have here are just amazing. And so we actually, that's what we came to do tonight, is to recognize the city of West Covina and just to say thank you. You know, just to say thank you for what you've done for all the programs, all the sports in the community, all the kids in the community, because I can say right now, the other, so many of these other cities, they don't have these programs. And people in, let's say, Montclair, or not to pick on them or whoever, it doesn't matter, they would kill to have the type of sports programs that they have here in West Covina, and that's just a great thing. So I did want to say, just like Maverick too, the things, the added benefits that people don't see from the program. Kids who don't have any money, or parents don't have any money, they just come to our program, they play free. It's just no questions asked. It's not like you have to show anything or do anything. They just come and they say, hey, we're broke, I'm sorry, and it's like their kids are playing. And like Maverick does so much for that too. I know the city does a lot of that. And again, it's what makes it a great place to be. It's just, it's like Mr. Herford said, it's just a great city to be in. Great place to raise your kids and play and have those sporting opportunities and other opportunities. So again, we wanted to say thank you to all you guys. We really appreciate everything you do, and we wanted to make a presentation to Mayor Sanderson.
Thank you. Oh my God.
You bet. I wanted to read this. This is from all of our programming. To the City of West Covina, a sincere thank you from the parents and kids of CSHA Youth Leagues for all you've done to design, build, and promote exceptional youth sports facilities and programs in our community. Thank you so much.
No, thank you for being such a great part of our I'm sorry it's been such a long meeting, but I just am grateful, and on behalf of the City Council, accept this award. It means a lot to us. We've had a great partnership, and this is for many, many more years to come.
I sure hope so.
Correct? Yes.
You betcha.
Absolutely.
You
So
betcha.
thank you. Thank you to the community for making the program.
I also did want to say just thanks to everybody for waiting. I know it's taken a long time, and we really appreciate you all coming. So thank you. Thank you.
More speaker cards. Thank you all so much. This means a lot to the community to be recognized like that. Our staff works very hard, and I'm talking without my microphone. And staff, see, they're already saving me as I'm talking without a microphone. We have just a few more speaker cards. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm being told that I'm missing somebody. So I'm going to call our next speaker, Gary Lawson.
Mayor Sanderson.
Hello.
Hi. City council members, city manager, staff. I'm so old and I waited so long, I think I forgot half of what I was going to say, but I'll try to remember as much as I can. I'm going to kind of use Mr. Herford to lead into the announcement that I want to provide for you tonight. I've known Mr. Herford for probably 35 years. I was a principal in the school district in West Covina for about 32 years. Then I've been a consultant the last 10 years working with the residents, with the businesses, and with different things with City Hall. This man cares. He cares about the kids. He cares about the community. He cares about parents. Obviously, he cares about the kids. You've seen what he demonstrated with the Dukes and other programs around the city. The city has an award, most business-friendly city. And I see that every day because I work with about 50, 60 businesses every week, probably between 500 and 1,000 during the month, either by cell phone or my laptop or driving directly to the business. So I'm here to tell you that the businesses feel like the city council, all 5 of you, are secure. And they're secure with the city manager and with the staff and the way the city hall is run. And this is the feedback I get when I go around the community and try to talk people into this type of program. You make it a lot easier for people like me to rally residents and to rally businesses for a program like this. I won't read the whole thing to you, but it's a program that was established to be an annual program for the city of West Covina at no cost to the city of West Covina. I've asked different corporations and different small businesses to donate money to pay for this event that would be an annual event. I don't charge a fee. I'm not going to receive any money for this. And the $5 entrance fee that we get from the kids and the families that come in goes all 100% back to the nonprofits that are going to participate in this event. It's called the first annual West Covina Community and Business Fair. We have, and then that'll be in the daytime, and then during and all the booths, game booths, after the kids get inside Hertz Ranch, will be free. Every one of them. So we're not going to charge them anything except to get in the door so we can share that money. And later at night for the adults, kids are all gone, right? Oh, we got one. Okay, at night, starting at 5 o'clock, we got a happy hour. For $25 ticket, you get a steak dinner, you get a cigar bar, and a host bar. And we hope you don't drink too much because it's going to come out of our pocket. So any money we raise, I think we've more or less pretty much raised just about enough money to cover it. And we also have the band Cold Duck, if you remember them. So they have a very good drawing. So we invite you all to come out. It'll be public tomorrow. There's a 3.5 by 24-foot banner that's going to be erected in front of Hearst Ranch. It will have the sponsors' names on it, and people you can call for tickets. Yeah, there's 3 people on the committee. We kept it at 3, although there's one 4th person that kind of comes and helps out. What's your name? But Glenn Kennedy and Rod, everybody in the room knows who you are. Glenn Kennedy, Rod Perryman, and myself have been constructing this for almost a year now. And we meet every week, every Wednesday, to do something to carry this out. So with that, I will say I'm a big Dukes fan. They're all gone. They left when they heard my name. So I was going to speak, I guess. And this city I've been working in for 40 years, and I just want to leave with this. The police department, the fire department, the city council, the school district, the churches, the youth programs in the city of West Covina are just phenomenal. So, but Shelley Sanderson, I'm over. I got a warning for you. If I'm not home by 9 o'clock to watch American Idol with my wife, you're going to get a phone call.
Do. It's being recorded. Thank you. Thank you for coming tonight. Our next speaker, I guess I apologize. I thought when I mentioned the name, it was with the developer that is here, Gregory Weir. Thank you.
Madam Mayor, honorable council members, Gregory Weiler, law firm of Paul Mary Tyler Irvine, representing South Hills Homes Partnership. The property owner subject to the moratorium, and now after 2 weeks, I guess they've included the Van Dale property in the proposed moratorium too. Normally, I would address the council on this at the public hearing. Again, this is ostensibly a legislative action, but it applies only to my client's property and now the Van Dale property. So, in effect, my client's constitutional rights are implicated in this action because it's a single property. A lot of people call it spot zoning, but that's a technical issue. I've been called 3 times in the last 18 months to come to the city of West Covina on an urgency ordinance. Now, there can't be much urgency if I've been called 3 times in 18 months. Urgency sort of means urgent. And nothing's happened in 18 months. Nothing's happened on the property. The Van Dale company is going to come and develop the property. For the record, and again, this is a huge deal. Millions and millions of dollars are at stake in this. Let there be no mistake about that. For the record, I lodged with the city clerk, and I think she provided you guys my latest letter, which is dated May of 2013, that referred back to 2 letters in early 2012 that set forth the basic requirements for an urgency ordinance. We don't have any beef with the city, except you can't do certain things by an urgency ordinance. I am just amazed. The first time I've ever seen this in 30 years, that I put a letter in and say, hey, to do something legally, I point to the statute and say, the statute says you have to do this and this and this, and you have to have findings on the record to do it. There's been no change in the staff report. So I would respectfully submit, to avoid unnecessary litigation, because we certainly don't want it, I know the Van Dale company doesn't want it, please look at the statute and just tell me, has there been any demonstration of urgency? There's no facts on the record. There's not even findings in the boilerplate staff report. I'm surprised. If I was going to do it, I'd at least attempt to comply with the statute. So with that said, I don't need to say much more. It's all set forth in our correspondence. I do point out for the record, too, that it's our position that several council members should recuse themselves. We put correspondence into the Fair Political Practices Commission based upon proximity of certain council members to the project and the impact it will have on their residences, the benefit associated with the moratorium. So I put that on the record also. And I would ask you to please consider the urgency ordinance, compliance with law. We don't want to fight with the city. We don't want unnecessary legal fees. I know what we're going to have to do if you adopt an urgency ordinance, but just like the Van Dale company, our client wants to work with the city for any legitimate concerns. We have final maps. We spent millions of dollars developing the property. They're sitting there ready to develop in accordance with existing standards. And if you do need to do a zone change, you've got months and months to do it in the ordinary process. You shouldn't single single out a property owner for in effect a single property owner for a special statute. And it kind of stinks. And that's why the state statute really frowns upon urgency ordinances, why you have to demonstrate with facts in the record that there's an immediate threat to the health and safety. Well, these lots have been sitting there for over a decade. Nothing's happened in 18 months since the staff report came last time. So what is the urgency? It doesn't make sense. We hope that you refrain from adopting this, and I'm happy to answer any questions on behalf of the property owner if you have any, Madam Mayor.
Okay, I know we have the item on the agenda, and I think at that time would be appropriate. And I see our City Attorney would like to have a brief word. Yes, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, City Council. Just to elaborate on what Mr. Weiler mentioned, we've complied with the government code requirements. We have clear findings set forth in Section 5 of the resolution. Regarding the urgency, I believe what the developer that had spoken prior to Mr. Weiler, their letter and their indication, they have submitted applications. That's the urgency. The urgency is that the process can go so far along that there could be a vested right for these developers, in which point we cannot, at that point, put a halt on the development based on new, perhaps amended standards. They would be grandfathered into the existing standards of when the permit was applied. So that is the urgency, and we understand that the moratorium would possibly halt that. However, the urgency here is that the developer has come forward, has submitted an application for a use permit, and this is the furthest along that any developer has ever come with respect to moving forward with projects in these properties.
Thank you. I have one more speaker card, and Irene Fleck. And I think she has, oh, she is here, hiding in the corner. Please come forward.
I'm just going to have to change what I was going to say. I think all of us are very much interested in children and young adults. I'm very proud to report to you the winners of the 33rd Annual West Covina Beautiful Poster Art Contest. That's in keeping with the city's month or 5 weeks of Cleanup Week and Green. The first place winner is Geraldine Velasquez of Coronado High School. Our second place winner is Jesse Mutuk of West Covina High. Third place is Priscilla Gonzalez, West Covina High. The Merit Award is Amanda Escudero of West Covina High. And the posters are down in your showcase. Oh, I guess it's not down, it's right over here. It's on this floor. I keep thinking, usually I'm upstairs. And we're very, very pleased to announce the winners and show that there are all kinds of good things going on for our young people in the city. Now, just quickly pick out a couple things in the library. We have Zumba and yoga, so we're into the sports too, free lessons. We also have new for us is a silent auction, and that's through this month of May. And 12 valuable books have been selected, and they're all on display in the lobby of the library. So if you're interested in seeing what has developed and what we're trying to develop, please run on over and take a look. The other thing is on Saturday, we're having a sneaky use for everyday things speaker. This is the Saturday, May 11th at 2 p.m. And that's going to be followed by Frank Gerardo with his book, Name Dropper, about the Clark Rockefeller mystery. Thank you very much.
Thank you, and thank you for waiting. That does conclude our oral communications of our meeting, and I usually write down items to address. I think staff had some items that there were several questions by Mrs. Buchanan, and I think you wrote those down. If there's anything else, then we'll move on with the agenda. And you guys got those comments, right? Okay, and then we'll just get back to her as that. Okay. Now we'll move on with the agenda. Thank you all again. Councilmember Sykes.
Regarding the repair procedure for the landlines, I would like to make sure that we address that, because that's life and death for some folks who are perhaps confined when we have these kind of situations. There was Mr. Coffin spoke about the 2 homes that were caught up in the fire and how they lost landline. So I'd like to make sure that we look into that and maybe revamp it if necessary in order for public safety. The next item, Mr. Cameron, he spoke about not being aware of what's going on in the city, perhaps. So for anyone's edification, if they can just go to the city website, www.westcovina.org, and when they click on what's new, they can review live. For tonight, they can still, if they get home in time, they can see the city council meetings per the internet, and the previous meetings are archived. So I just want to make sure we get that out there. Thank you.
Thank you very much. With that, we'll move on. We have a motion to the consent unless there's something that needs to be pulled.
Madam Mayor, item 6, please. I'd like to have a discussion regarding the request by Southern California Edison on this cabinet.
All right. Do I hear a motion other than item 6?
Madam Mayor, I make a motion to approve all items but item 6.
I'll second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. And we pulled item number 6, which is Public Works Grant Easement for utility purposes in favor of Southern California Edison. Councilmember Sykes, you had pulled this item. If you had some questions for staff.
For the folks who purchased homes probably some 40 years ago, we brought our homes with some aesthetics that parts of the city do not have, and that's undergrounding for our utilities. And so whenever I see something that's going to be taken from undergrounding, and now they want to put it above ground, that defaces what we have in the way of our aesthetics and amenities in the community. And I also think that putting a cabinet in our paseo is also a public safety problem. So my question is, we have a subterranean vault on the south side of Gemini at Giano. I would like to have that explained why that they can't build on that item that's already there. That would be one question. And if they come up with the reasoning that they can't, then I would like to know why it is that they don't seem to have considered undergrounding at the north side of Gemini.
If I could have Shan Yancey answer those questions, please.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'll try to address the questions. I don't think we have a Southern California Edison representative here, so I'm trying to relay information that they've given to us. They did revise their specs, and they did, that was with the Public Utilities Commission, and they are trying to avoid the subterranean vaults due to dependability. They have issues with those moisture getting in those, and they are trying to do this upgrade to the system to improve the dependability of the area. They do have the right to install the above-ground transformer in the parkway. However, it's really tight on room, and that's why they're requesting the easement to move it back into the Paseo area. We could, because we maintain the property, we could plant shrubs in and around it, although normally the front has to be left clear for access and maintenance. And did that answer all your questions?
If I understand you correctly, what we paid for, we're going to lose now because they've decided, and I guess probably because they don't live there, that it doesn't matter what we wanted and why we moved there. We moved there with the idea of all our neighborhood having subterranean vaulting. And I do not appreciate a loss of what we paid for, especially those residents who've been there for since, like I say, over 40 years. Thank you.
Any other comments or questions on the item? Manager?
Yes, just a suggestion as well is that There isn't an urgency on acting on this tonight. If you like, we can go back to Edison and ask more questions and see if they can do more to address that issue.
I think the residents who've invested their hard-earned dollars for that aesthetics and beauty as it is, I think they would want to keep it that way. So I think they would definitely say thank you for that. If you can put it off for another day and we can get more information.
Madam Mayor, I make a motion to hold over.
I have a motion.
Second.
A motion and a second to hold the item number 6, grant easement, utility purpose in favor of Southern California Edison. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, they'll be brought back to us. Thank you so much. Our next item on the agenda is departmental regular matters, which is our planning department urgency ordinance establishing a moratorium to prohibit the construction of residential structures on vacant properties in the South Hills subdivision, state development standards. Do we have a staff report, Mr. City Manager?
Yes, Jeff Anderson will present the staff report tonight.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Staff has been contacted by residential developers over the last couple of years on the potential development of some vacant lots in the South Hills area. You've heard a lot about those tonight. These properties were part of a larger development approved in the 1980s that created hundreds of lots. Most of those have been built on. There are currently 79 vacant lots in the area that are kind of in a group all together in a contiguous manner. Since the subdivision was created 30 years ago, staff has some concerns with issues that were not covered by conditions when the tracts were approved. The lots in the area are in a hilly terrain and have varied topography. Staff would like the opportunity to evaluate current development standards prior to the development of the vacant lots. Staff is suggesting we assess the following issues: the current standards for required enclosed parking for garages and whether additional spaces should be required for larger houses, the maintenance issues on privately owned slopes in the tracts regarding drainage and landscaping, the possibility of standards establishing a ratio between the pad size of a hillside lot and the floor area of the house, if the pad sizes created for the lots are appropriate in size to allow for a house in a level yard area, consideration of alternate methods of measuring height and number of stories, and consideration for the standards and review process for decks that allow for views into neighboring properties. And those are kind of listed in what we think of sort of a priority order. If the City Council wishes to proceed with the moratorium, staff is recommending City Council adopt the urgency ordinance that's attached and direct staff to schedule consideration of a moratorium at a public hearing of June 4th, 2013. The initial ordinance would adopt a moratorium for 45 days, and a hearing on June 4th would be consideration to extend that for another 10 months, 15 days. The recommended moratorium would prohibit grading or construction of houses while the moratorium is in place, and the maximum length of time for a moratorium is 2 years. That concludes staff's presentation. I'd be happy to answer any questions at this time.
Is there any questions of staff? Councilmember Sotelo.
Yes, Mr. Anderson, I got a question for you. So you're saying that these lots do not meet our code today?
They meet our code today. The difference is that lots we would have that are developed today in a tract map situation, we would generally have CC&Rs on them for certain aspects such as the cross-lot drainage, the drainage issues. The other questions that have come up over time have been whether basically our code today only requires a 2-car garage no matter how big the house is. So right now that's what the code only requires. The question is, especially in areas where we have larger lots and larger houses that are going to come, should there be additional garage space?
But wouldn't all our houses go through our subcommittee?
All the houses would go through. We have met with Vandale, and they're aware, and they have submitted applications to go through the subcommittee and administrative use permits for the review of the houses. So we do have some ability, at least on those houses that have been submitted, to work with them to try to achieve some of the same results, but there'd be no guarantee it wouldn't be a code requirement.
And I believe one of the issues is that if they build like a 5,000 square foot house and they only plan to, because to accommodate a 5,000 square foot house and only have a 2-car garage, that may not be sufficient to support, the size of the home. And we don't have any codes behind us to, that can require us to acquire more garage space. So that's one of the issues. And I think it's important for us to point out is that planning staff is looking big picture. They're looking to ensure that the development is constructed in high quality that the residents of West Covina and the City Council would like to see of the City of West Covina. they're not, we're not trying to stop development. We're trying to ensure that the project is developed in accordance with high-quality standards that we look forward to. And we just are identifying some deficiencies within the code that we want to try to address. And I think one of it, we have to recognize that this isn't flat land like we have around here. This is all hillside. And so with that is the various issues that I believe that staff is identifying in this report, is that when you cut the slope area and cut into it, you only have so much buildable area. And that is what poses some of the problems that they see with this tracks.
Any other questions? I had a quick question in reference to the developer, the current plans. Will this moratorium interfere with the development time during the moratorium is in effect? I mean, basically, this project can go forward at some point. Am I correct by saying that?
You're correct in saying that, yes. The moratorium can only stay in effect for 2 years, so you can't stop development there forever. You can only have a moratorium in effect for 2 years. During that 2-year period, the moratorium would not allow for any issuance of building permits.
Right. So the moratorium won't delay their current plans. It'll just delay until some things get resolved that the staff is concerned with, and in reference to drainage and garage space and whatnot. Because, I mean, I guess where I'm going with this is I'm hoping, of course we want to work with businesses within our community. And I think that's, from my seat, I want to make that very clear that, but one of the things that does concern me, and you touched on it, was the drainage issue. The track that I live in particular, is a hillside. And I sure darn wish they would have dealt with the drainage issue, because they did not. And so over the years, it's been a problem. It's been a big problem where neighbors are draining onto neighbors' properties. And they said, well, there's nothing you can do. It drains the way it drains since 1950, whatever. So in my opinion, I just wanted to make sure that the people that are coming to the table that are looking to develop these lots, 30 years, that has been a long time. But we have some concerns, and I'm just hoping that we can, I guess, wrap them up quickly. And get that done. Would that be something that would be reasonable?
Well, this would be a code amendment, so we're talking about a moratorium, but the moratorium allows for a code amendment. So we process a code amendment. It doesn't have to take 2 years.
Right.
It depends on how long
Yeah, I guess
the
that's
process.
what I'm asking. So we've done moratoriums before, and they've gone pretty quickly. People come, say what they want to say, we get the problems resolved. I think what we're doing, and when somebody says an urgency ordinance, that's just what it's called, is what I understand. Over the years I've been on council, it's just called an urgency ordinance because that's the name of it. It's like saying liquid paper. Well, it's really whiteout. So whatever you want to call it. But I do have the drainage issues, and you're saying, and I've read the staff reports, and I know this has been kind of gone back and forth because we were waiting for some items, that I want to make clear from my seat that I don't want people saying, oh, the moratorium, you can't do the project ever. That's, I don't think, what I would be trying to say, or I don't think that's what the staff is saying. It's just we have a couple things we want to clean up, so wait, don't get started. Let's get these little couple things cleaned up, and then let's move on.
Correct.
Is what if I think I'm unclear what staff's saying, then I'm comfortable with that. Because I want to make sure that they know that, we want to have them in West Covina. Unfortunately, sometimes bumps in the roads happen, and so with that, I just wanted my questions answered. Was there any other questions of council on any items? Councilmember Sotelo.
I have to agree with my fellow councilman. I just can't see why it takes 2 years to go through these things. We have developers willing to work with us. We have people that are willing to work with us right now, and I can't see why it takes 2 years to sit there and put an ordinance in for 2 years. I can see if you want to put an emergency ordinance, what I'm saying. I know what you guys, where you're coming there. But for the wording, the verbiage for 2 years to allow a full review, that's a long time, okay? And in 2 years, they might go somewhere else, and we might lose this money. And we need this money. We need this revenue. And I think we can take care of this sooner than 2 years.
Correct. And let me point out a couple things. First of all, staff we just wanted you to know what the total timeline of the cap would be. Right. The 2 years is the total cap of what it could be. Staff, we didn't get the most business-friendly award, just for sitting around. We work pretty fast, and we try to accommodate businesses as much as possible. And I think with Van Dale's efforts and their willingness to help us, we're going to be able to move quickly on this.
Okay. All right. Any other comments? Councilmember McIntyre.
So just for ultimate clarity, in this case, it would be the Van Dale Group. They could proceed with the development parts of their project, meaning planning submittal, going through those, showing what they want to do, taking into consideration the possible concerns that we have, or the staff has, with the moratorium. And then the only thing that this would potentially do at the moment is prevent building permits from being pulled, but it would allow the individual developers to move forward with what they want.
It would not allow them to proceed because when staff needs to administratively approve some of the permits, the moratorium would be in effect, so the staff would not be able to actually approve any of the permits at this point until a new code amendment is approved by council to address some of these issues.
But that does not prevent staff to be able to review the plans and work with them on moving forward.
I think staff approve it, or does planning commissions approve it, and city?
Planning Commission would consider it and then make a recommendation to the City Council, in which point Council would approve the amendment.
But the developer can at least move forward with staff with the plan submittal and reviews and comments and taking into consideration, hey, have you guys thought about making this street wider or adding more parking here? Or, these are concerns with the moratorium. So they can at least get their paperwork ready with staff, work on it that way. And then as we address these issues, hopefully they've been listening and paying attention while we're going through them all, and then that way they're ready to go the minute this issue gets resolved.
I believe it's going to be a parallel track where we're going to be working on the code amendment, and we'll be working with Van Dale to help us formulate that code amendment. So they'll be doing their plans, and we'll be using those plans hopefully to try to help us, to address the code amendments. The code amendments may not be as significant as everyone believes they may be. But we just need the opportunity to look at that and be able to draft the language and bring it back to you.
Cool.
Yeah, I think I understand the question, and that's kind of what I was trying to get at, is they can still proceed with what they're doing as they're building as we go through this process and include them in that process as well.
Well, I believe, since Van Dale's already submitted their application, we're going to be reviewing their plans. I just don't think staff's going to be able to approve their plans to address the issue.
Well, that's obvious.
And so we're going to be working.
Approved, but they can still move forward with their projects.
Yes.
Okay. Councilmember Sykes.
For the Director of Planning, the history of slope failure. Has there been any history of slope failure in that South Hills area since those homes have been built 20, 30, 40 years? And we do have examples outside of that community. Do we have examples of slope failure inside that community?
I'm going to defer to the Public Works Director on that question.
Thank you.
I'm trying to recall the recent history. The two that I can recall were related to, I have to go, one was related to a water leak and one was related to some rains. So we have had two that I can recall in recent history.
All right, any other comments or questions?
Madam.
Councilmember Sykes.
Okay, by two, are you saying we lost two homes up there? Or we had two incidents of landslide? When you're saying two, what are you saying?
We had two slope failures. They did not affect any structures. One was in the backyard of a home. Actually, both were behind the homes. But we were fortunate there was no structures affected or endangered.
So if I understand you correctly, you're saying that as far as with the houses, where the homes were cut and so forth, the property owner lost no property, their land or their homes?
That's correct.
Thank you.
Both of the failures were in the open spaces behind the homes.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you. Now I have a question for staff. How long do you think that you would need on something like this, so maybe we could kind of have a window?
Well, what the process entails here is the adoption of, if you want to go forward, you adopt an urgency ordinance tonight. We have to come back 30 days and provide you a report.
Okay.
And at that point in time, we'll be discussing how long it might take. And the longest we can extend it then is another 10 10 months, 15 days. So it's basically a year time period from today's date, the first time. If we want to extend it again, we have to have another hearing
Okay,
at
so
that
yeah,
point in
you
time.
can't go out unless you have another hearing.
Yeah,
is what you're saying.
we're not suggesting adopting for two years because we can't do
Right,
that.
okay, so
right
we
now
just need the urgency ordinance at this time
for 45
to
days.
move forward, to give us you said the 30 days.
45 days, and we'll have a hearing in 30 days time period to
30
determine
days.
if you want to extend it beyond
Got
that.
it, okay, but hopefully would we have all our answers in that period?
We can probably try to come together with at least a tentative schedule for the timeline it might take us.
Okay. All right, because that's one of my things. I wanted to try and put some kind of a time frame on it so that we're not, holding anybody up any longer than we have to be. Okay. With that, is there any other comments, questions? With that, motion is in order.
Madam Mayor, I'll make a motion to approve.
Okay, I have a motion.
Or to adopt, I'm sorry.
Okay, it's a motion to adopt. Councilmember Six.
I'd like to say that I'm concerned, and I have difficulties supporting this because, there's a number of reasons, and some of them have already been stated. And starting with it seems to be a disconnect with reality here. We just talked about how there has been no loss of structures. There doesn't seem to be a need for this type of approach with stopping the developers from going forward. And I see some unfairness that may expose our city to litigious and costly court action. And we also know from what the attorney has already stated for this particular developer that there's a long there's a long history, some acrimonious history there dealing with this particular developer. That is a concern for me. And there's also an appearance of abuse of power and conflict of interest by way of where some of the members of the council, where they live, and the nature of their business and their income. When you look at the last 20 years of our city and development, we've had a significant number of new developments, and we've never, to my knowledge, brought forth this kind of a moratorium that would shut down such a massive project. We also have a number of emerging and what appear to be unencumbered housing developments that are in parts of the city where we have a long established and also dense communities. And there was no question that these developments could go forward. They were approved, despite some of the residents coming forward and asking for it not to happen. The latest developments that we see when you go around the city, if you campaign and canvass for votes or just get out and just walk, you'll see that the latest and the largest developments tend to have a two-story type setup, and the houses oftentimes have high walls and gates. And I bring this up because you want to note the design of these progressive or new recent developments because it splinters and it takes away the harmony of the older and established communities. There's no doubt about it. People talked about it tonight, how it looks so different and from what was the original and established community. And these projects, I mean, they went forward. There was no such roadblock like we have here. And on the other hand, this idea of delay and even bar South Hills developments, it just begs to ask the question of what makes this so different than all the other projects that have come before. And this one has to be where we stop and create a reputation for our city of all of a sudden turning away from our business-friendly model. Additionally, the timing is just extremely unfortunate for the city to get caught up in this kind of stuff. I mean, we need those dollars like a dead man needs a coffin. And we're going to stop luxury homes? I mean, think about that for a minute. We got developers that are sitting here, and you know, they know when you look at the U.S. situation, this is insane. When you just oppose the loss of millions of dollars to the city, and you look at our budget problems, it's just when you put the two together, it just doesn't make sense. The luxury homes, they cost more and they take longer to build, and so therefore delaying. We're delaying the acquisition of high-end construction jobs and the related benefits to the community. And when you look at the U.S. as a whole and the housing market dilemma, the most stable aspect of our situation is the luxury homes. They have been the most stable. And now we're going to attack this project. And it's just finally, when you look at the people that are coming and they spoke, you can see that they're just disconcerted, and they're just extremely concerned over seeing our decisions that too often cause taxpayer money to be directed to court costs instead of rehabilitating our public safety and our core city services. So I just will not support this moratorium tonight. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I have a motion. Did I hear a second on the floor? A second? Probably verbally for our city clerk over there.
Second.
Thank you.
I'd like to say something now. I thought after you made a motion, second, now we can discuss.
You can talk. Yes, you can. Councilmember Sotelo.
What I'd like to see is we can get some kind of a timely fashion where we can work with our developers, okay? I see staff's concern, okay? I see our developers' concern, all right? They need to get the project started, they need the project going. If we can work together, okay, we are a business-friendly city. If we can work together and work together in harmony to get this thing going, I think we can both work together and achieve both of our common goals together. And if we can do this together in a timely fashion, I think it'll be a win for every one of us. The city will win, we'll have happy developers, and they'll be developing more land. And I'd like to find out from the staff, I know I live probably 2-3 miles from that property, and Steve lives probably about the same distance from the property. I don't know any other council member that lives anywhere close to the property. Would that be, is there any way I'm in jeopardy of?
Madam Mayor, City Council, the city did issue a request for an opinion from the FPPC regarding potential conflicts for 3 of the council members, Councilmember McIntyre, Herford, and Sotelo. And the letter that came back from the FPPC was that there was no conflict. Based on that, there was no direct conflict because you live outside of 500 feet. There was no indirect conflict because of the potential impacts were not considered material by the FPPC.
All right. And that answers questions. Okay. We do
Madam
have a
Mayor?
motion and a second. Councilmember Sykes.
I use the term appearance because I've learned in this business that if it looks bad, it is bad. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And let me, before we vote here, I just want to make sure everybody understands that we're not denying this. We are doing our due diligence and making sure that this is being done properly. I know what drainage issues are and slope issues are, and I think that is critical that we handle this. I think it's extremely important. We're expressing to staff that this is going to be done very, very quickly, and I've always been taught to not go by appearance but by facts. And with that being said, we have a motion and a second. I'm sorry, you want to make a comment?
A quick comment. It's positive.
Okay, well, we've got one more comment. Councilmember McIntyre.
Just want to make sure that everybody understands that how this is positive news, the fact that we're talking about building multi-million-dollar houses again. I mean, we've been going through the last 5 years of a horrible economy, and we're all sitting here right now. So at the end of the day, this is all positive, and we are a business-friendly town, and we want to get this thing moving. There are factors that have happened as the entire development up there has been developed, and as paraphrasing what Councilmember Sykes said about residents who have bought up there and expect certain things and want things to exist because they've invested their monies in this city, and they're second and third owners. They're not the first ones, the second and third. So they might not have been aware of the fact that there's going to be other developments, even if they could have seen it with their own two eyes, but sometimes they don't see it or acknowledge it. But it's just, this is a process that's going to allow us to hopefully just apply a microscope to the situation, make sure there's no issues. I've had friends that live up there that have done alterations to their house, ended up being a lawsuit. He ended up having to buy the house next door because he impacted a view. It has happened up there. It was on, it's not Hillside, but one of the houses up there, East Hills. So these things have happened. They've gotten people into litigation. We, as a city, are just looking out for that. We want to mitigate as much as possible. In today's world that we do live in, it's sad, but we are a litigious country. It seems like you can't really do anything, really, out there in the public without meeting an attorney. So that's just a fact of life. But this is a good process. We're just addressing some potential issues that staff has arised, and we'll do it as fast as humanly possible.
Thank you so much. I have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
No.
Motion carries 4-1. Thank you so much. Our next item on the agenda is Mayor, Council Member reports. I have none. Any AB 123 conference meetings? Anyone? I don't see anybody raising their hands. So we have requests for reports and studies or investigations. Requests from Councilmember Sykes. This is your item in reference to the instruct staff to prepare a report on developing operated shopping cart retrieval program. Councilmember Sykes.
Years ago when I came onto the scene, it was pointed out to me, and you can clearly see it. We have, for years, we've had shopping carts all over the place, and that's why we have a shopping cart hotline. And in the past, I asked this council to try to address this with perhaps an ordinance whereby we could have some of the modern technology that can stop the shopping carts from leaving the owner's property. However, that was shot down as being too expensive, among other things, and as to why they can't get them to do something about the wayward and out-of-place shopping carts. So at this time, I'm trying to approach it from a different perspective, in that instead of letting them litter our streets and propose a public safety hazard and consistently cause an eyesore in our paseos, that we start a report on how we can corral those carts ourselves, and perhaps bring revenue to the city when they're not reclaimed by the owners. And that's the basic idea behind my thoughts on this proposal. Thank you.
Any comments of council in reference to this? I know I've been in those shopping carts before with my kid in it, and they go and stop. And you're like, and they have like a lock on them. I've never seen that before, but some of them do have that. That's what you're talking about, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, well, scary. I understand the concept, though. When you have a kid in there and you don't expect the cart to stop, and you're like, and you see people dragging them to try and get them past the thing. Anyways, council's pleasure on this item. Did you want to bring it back, or do we have a program already, or do we know, or?
I'll let Shannon Yahtzee answer this.
Thank you.
Currently, we contract with a firm, California Shopping Cart Retrieval, and what happens is we pay about $3 a cart for them to pick up the carts and return them to the stores. We have actually recently in October, we sent 3 stores a warning letter because we noticed that they had a large number of carts that were found stray. One of those stores actually is in the county and is not even in the city. So we're encouraging them to have their employees or their own contractor pick up these carts. Some of the stores are very good at it. These three seem to stand out and have more stray carts than others. So that's currently our program now. We do have the options to put these three stores on notice, and the contractor would then take the carts after they've been warned 3 times. We would be then taking the carts to the city yard where they would have to pick them up, which hopefully that in itself would deter them or encourage them to have their employees or another contractor pick up their carts. The state law does govern this. It does allow you to recoup some costs, but it's also there's guidelines where if you do that, you have to give the stores 3 days normally to collect their own carts before you can fine them or confiscate them and then recoup your costs. But I think if we do take these problem stores and confiscate their carts, that alone will probably encourage them to be more responsible.
And so you're saying that we currently do have the means and wherewithal to go ahead and move forward with handling any type of issues that we may have, and maybe that's something we can do. I don't know if there's particular areas, Councilmember Sykes, that you're concerned with these carts, and maybe we can follow up with a call, because I know I bug Shannon probably more than any other staff person. When we have a sidewalk that's up or a tree that needs to be trimmed and residents call me, I bug Shannon. So I mean, I guess since there's already, because I would be concerned about cost, I don't know how we want to handle that, but maybe we could see if there's a particular area that you have concerns with that we can contact Shannon and he can take care of that.
And maybe we need to publicize the hotline a little more.
That would be good, like we do for graffiti, correct?
Correct.
Okay. I mean, if that's amenable with the council's pleasure on the item.
I'm fine with that. If we have a program that works, let's do it.
Okay. And, maybe that's the thing, is we just need some recognition of our current program and put it in our Discover and just try and see how that works. And if it's not working and you're seeing, the continued problems, maybe then we can kind of talk about strengthening the existing states program, if that's acceptable to Councilmember Sykes.
Excuse me. Thank you, Madam Mayor. Mr. Yahtzee, so you're saying that we have something in place that can help us recoup our costs. If they fail to comply, what is the final word now if they don't comply? What was that again, please?
Well, the state law does make it difficult because you have to give them 3 days notice. If you're going to fine them $50 for each day they're in violation when you find their carts in the street, you have to give them 3-day notice to pick up those carts first. So, to me, that's not really a good solution, because the carts could sit there for 2.5 days. They could pick them up. They don't get fined. There is a provision in the code that you can confiscate the carts immediately without a previous notice. You have to notify them within 24 hours that you've taken their cart, and then they have 3 days to pick it up at your city yard, and if they do that, there's no fine. However, I do believe, if we target these 3 stores, and they actually are in your area, they seem to be the worst offenders. I think just the fact that we're taking their carts to the city yard and they have to spend the time and energy to go retrieve them, I think that in themselves, I would hope, would cause them to then be more responsible and have their employees or another contractor pick up their carts routinely.
Do you know if there, if I may, Madam Mayor, do you know if there are other cities that address this by way of confiscation and then without proper response to retrieve that they're sold in order to compensate the city for the housing, the warehousing, and so forth? Isn't that, because that's what I'm looking for, is to make this more efficient by way of if they do not comply, then no problem. We'll sell them and and recoup our monies by way of that. And I think once that gets out, we'll get better compliance by that, and it'll benefit the city. Thank you.
Okay. So do we think we can handle that at this point and then maybe come back, you know? Okay. Council's pleasure on this item.
I think staff can deal with it. I make a motion to receive and file.
Okay. I have a motion. I need a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
I'd rather we get something done, but
Okay, well, let's see how that works out, and then, you know, bring it back if the current program, maybe we need to send out a letter off to the state or something to ask them to increase, because this is a state law, so sometimes, you know, that might help too. So, okay. Next item is item number 10, which is Councilmember Robert Sotelo. Request for council member requesting city to instruct staff to prepare a report on the removal of the restrooms at the wilderness camps of Galstra Park. Councilmember Sotelo.
Yes, I'd like to ask staff, we were just there for Arbor Day, and the whole top boys camp bathroom and stuff was just full of graffiti. And I realize we have a hard time getting to it because we're secluded nature where it's at. And every time we seem to paint it, it gets painted before we can even leave the building, before you leave the park. I want to know what we can do. If we can't find a way to get rid of the graffiti, would it be best to get rid of the bathrooms? Or is anybody even using those bathrooms up there?
Staff has looked into this a little bit, and the answer is that it is in a pretty poor state. We are looking at the grant deed with the conveyance of the property, and would need to determine whether there's any restrictions on removing that facility, first of all. If there isn't, I think staff's recommendation would be to demolish it.
Okay, so you want to make a motion that we bring this back after, because this is a Mother May I item, so you want to make a motion?
Make a motion.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye?
Aye.
Opposed? 5-0. And with that, we have city council comment section and any adjournments. City council comments, everybody looks quiet. And adjournments, any adjournments? So a motion is in order to adjourn our meeting.
Motion. Second.
Motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye? Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Oh, I see a finger, hey, don't do that to me. Thank you all for your patience this evening.